You're listening to the Multiverse Fan Cast, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
My name is Oliver Queen.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive.
My name is Kara Zor-El. I'm from Krypton.
Everyone, this is my cousin. I guess you already know. Okay, I think I have it. Oliver.
Green Arrow.
Dig.
Spartan.
Thea.
Speedy.
Okay. And Cera.
White Canary.
Jax. And Professor Stein.
Firestorm.
Ray.
Palmer. The Atom.
And Mick.
Oh, Heatwave.
Always a pleasure to see you, Lucy. Hello? Don't believe we've met. Lucifer, Morningstar. Consider us even, John Constantine.
Constantine.
Is it? I don't care.
Be ready. All right, then. On with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiverse Fan Cast. If you're listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me tonight is Ronnie. Ronnie, how are you tonight?
You know, I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
All right, Shatner. That was a little weird. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
You are welcome.
And as always, official third podcast host, Rob. Rob, how are you tonight?
I'm ready. I got my boomstick.
What is going on tonight?
I thought we were quoting lines in movies. Do you know that one?
Oh, that's Army of the Dead.
Yeah, Army of Darkness. Yes.
Darkness. Dang it. So close.
But you knew
But
it.
yes.
You
Yeah,
did know.
I know it. It's one of
This is my boomstick.
Yeah, hail to the king, baby. So we are super excited to talk about
Paul's favorite movie of all time.
I would not say it's my favorite movie of all time, but it is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. It is a unique movie. It is by one of my favorite directors.
The Little Princesses?
Yes, absolutely. We are talking about the 2010 romantic action comedy comic book video game movie, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Scott Pilgrim!
Mr. Pilgrim.
Mr. Pilgrim.
So, this movie is a unique adventure.
Unique New York.
Hold on.
We did the sound check already.
We did the sound check. But, Ronnie, I think you and I actually saw it in theaters. Were you there
Wow.
Were you there for that?
That's a possibility.
On opening weekend, possibly?
I think so, yeah.
Then you were
Possibility.
amongst the few
The
thousand that
So
saw it.
let's discuss that. We're not going to do any news tonight. The news has been kind of few and far between, especially now that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is over. If you guys haven't seen it, we do have a full series review, not only as a podcast episode, which you can find on our website, themisfitfaction.com. You can also find Rob's full series review and why he only gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Spoiler alert. But I believe that's for the because they didn't change the ending.
Justify my reasons.
Because they didn't change the ending
My
title.
readers, the readers who are informed, understand.
Speaking of readers who are informed, do you have something planned for coming up?
Not for this week. I have to write a speech for. I'm a keynote speaker at the high school's national NHS induction ceremony, so my efforts are going to that this week. But I will come up with.
If you want, we could post that.
Oh, good. My inspirational speech to all the incoming NHS members.
Stop vaping. Maybe it'll be my time to shine.
I could Stop vaping. Do drugs.
My father's health teacher's advice. I could use that in the speech. It was, hey kids, keep it in your pants.
Wow.
When in doubt.
Which is what Scott Pilgrim should have done, and we will get into that during this
Good
episode.
segue.
But if you guys haven't checked out some of our newest content, we did our first YouTube video, and it came out mediocre. But it was a good learning experience.
Hooray
We got an
for
A for
average.
effort.
So, well, it was a collaboration between all of us from the Multiverse Fan Cast and Cinematic Adventures and producer Melanie from Bibliophiles Ensemble.
She's been elevated to producer status?
She has hit producer
Wow.
status.
Yeah.
Only
Where
because
was I for this?
You were too busy laughing at her trying to clap. I have that video. It's hilarious.
She's director and producer.
Oh, wow.
Yep, and she also has the most followers on any of our social media, so she wins.
Yeah.
But so if you guys haven't seen that, it's actually the content itself is fantastic. The audio is great. The visuals need a little work.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, and
But that's what you get
gotta
when
get
you're
some-
starting off.
Yeah.
Get some decorations in here.
I'm going to get a green screen.
Some
I'm gonna put it on the
decor.
list. Yeah. But so we are still working on different projects and different endeavors in the network, so keep a lookout for those. If you haven't followed us on Instagram, you can find us at the Misfit Faction. You can also find our Twitter, which is Misfit Faction, and our YouTube, which is also the Misfit Faction, but it's the Misfit Faction Media Network. So we are going to jump. We're going to go through the movie. We're going to go through the plot, the characters, what happened with this movie. And by the way, the reason we're doing it is because we're celebrating its 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary.
10 years ago, this movie came out not August 13th.
Yeah.
Well, no, the release date was in the United States.
It was
August 13th.
August 13th. But they are doing a re-release, I believe, this weekend.
Yes, they are releasing the 10th anniversary Blu-ray and DVD edition.
Yeah,
with
and in theaters, too, which is even cooler.
Oh, yes, I did see that. And I know Edgar Wright has added some extras onto the Blu-ray for some, like, an alternate ending and stuff.
Well, so when we get to the ending, I'll tell you what the alternate ending is, because it is on the DVDs. So I have seen the alternate ending. I much prefer what they did. We will discuss. So before we do anything, though, we're going to jump into, obviously, first is the director, Edgar Wright. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge fan of Edgar Wright.
Absolutely.
I love his over-exaggerated storytelling.
Yeah, the Cornetto trilogy is really just, and by the Cornetto trilogy, we're referring specifically to Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End.
Which are just a near-perfect trilogy of movies.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I also love Baby Driver. I'm a big fan of Baby Driver.
I've been watching for the first time his television show Spaced.
Yeah, I've heard very good things about it. Yes.
I'm working my way through it. He's clearly talented.
Yeah, I'm really upset we did not get to see him do Ant-Man.
Yeah. If you're interested, you can find on YouTube his test footage that he directed for Ant-Man. It's about a minute long, and just to cite that, like, I don't know how many remember, but when Ant-Man was first announced as being a creation by the MCU and being inducted in, no one really knew how to do Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. And he was the guy that figured it out. He shot test footage showing him, blowing up and getting small and punching people, and everyone went, that's it. That's what we're going to do. And
that scene was put into the movie when obviously cleaned up. It was more test footage. Very similar to the Ryan Reynolds test, the Deadpool that got leaked.
Yeah.
I mean, still don't know who.
But Edgar Wright is just brilliant, and I know he's working on his new film right now. I can't recall the title, but I know it's got a lot of big names in it too.
Yeah,
so.
he doesn't have a very big filmography. It's either I think it's Last Night in Soho.
Yes, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
but he does not have a huge filmography, but I really enjoy his style, and that over exaggeration, like when Ramona's like washing her hands and you hear like all those very like loud. Hot Fuzz is probably my favorite of the Cornetto trilogy.
Really?
Yeah.
See, for obvious reasons.
That's true.
But
I am in the minority on this amongst the Cornetto
I will
trilogy.
say I love World's End if that's where you're going.
I love World's End. I just rewatched it recently, and I really think it falls apart a little bit at the very end. Mm-hmm. But it's so brilliant, and it's got so many deep themes to it about getting older and leaving things behind, and Edgar Wright is such a great visual storyteller, which is where his strengths lie, which is why he's the perfect person to direct Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Scott Pilgrim, let's do a little history on. I'm not too. I know, Rob, you've been reading the graphic novel.
Oh yes.
And I believe you mentioned that this the movie was created before.
Yeah, Scott. I did a deep dive this week on the Scott Pilgrim. I guess you would classify it almost as anime.
Yeah, it's more of a manga.
Manga, thank you. Anime would be the media of it, whereas the manga is the books. There's 3 major volumes, and each volume has around, I'd say, about 12 issues in it. So I think the Scott Pilgrim series, as far as the film is concerned, it covers about 36 to 40 issues of the comic, and they didn't finish writing it when the movie came out. In fact, I was watching an interview with Edgar Wright that said it's kind of like a Game of Thrones situation where they had outlines of stuff and they knew where stuff was going, and they had all the foundational stuff in the beginning, but they could interpret the rest any way they wanted. Mm-hmm. And some stuff is similar, but there's a lot of variations in the comic between the two, and it's neat. I highly recommend the comic.
Yeah. So we've discussed very much recently Zack Snyder. Rob's already like, no. But the reason
I didn't know I didn't take my Zoloft before this.
Prince Valium. But the reason I bring that up is because Edgar Wright is a better example of how to take a comic book property and match the incredible visuals without overdoing it. Like Watchmen. I enjoy Watchmen for the most part. It's not a movie I can just throw on like a rainy Saturday, unless I want to be even more depressed. But it's a great example of, scenes from a comic that come to life. But this is a story from a comic that comes to life, and that's the big difference.
Yeah, Zack Snyder is very good at imitating the look of comics. Sort of like Sin City imitates the look of Frank Miller's comic. But he's not very good at the storytelling aspect of it.
And Edgar Wright is a great example of the. I feel like he writes a script around the visuals he wants to do. Baby Driver's an even better example. He did the soundtrack before he did the movie. He's like, these are the songs that I want to use, and then he built the scenes around those songs.
Yeah.
My argument, I know you're going to be upset by this, but Zack Snyder does great visuals for the sake of looking cool.
I think
look at how awesome this is.
Yeah.
Whereas Edgar Wright does visuals for not just for looking cool, but because there's emotional heft and heart behind it.
Well, I'm not upset by that. I agree to a point. But as we always say, the rule of cool always abides, and but there is a limit to how much you can do something because it looks cool.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian's a great example. Spoiler alert for season 2 of Mandalorian.
Look out.
The Luke Skywalker cameo at the end, which most people know already happened, but the visuals of that are fantastic. And but it's also. It's not like they did that every episode. That's the difference. So I did not know anything about the property before seeing this movie. So I went in basically completely blind. And if you just went on based on the trailers, you really didn't know what you were getting yourself into.
No.
This movie, the second Wallace says fight, changes 1,000,000,000%. You get little nods and a little hints, like the sound effects appearing in the air, the doorbell rings, it's ding dong. All the characters get their info.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Jumanji: The Next Level.
Yes.
With the video game aesthetic. This is a great example. This is more. I consider this more of a video game movie than a comic book movie. And video game movies,
not so good according to Mortal Kombat recently, from what I've heard.
Actually, Mortal Kombat was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it was a good start to a new franchise.
Okay.
But I'll also defend the original 95 one. I love that movie.
That's got charm to it.
It's got a very cheesy charm to it, and but for the most part, it still holds up surprisingly well.
It's funny too because like you were saying, at that moment when he says fight, there's very few movies that can take a genre change in the middle of the film like that. One other film that I can think of is Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's From Dusk Till Dawn. I don't know if you remember that, where before then it was like a thriller and it was like a disturbing serial killer, kind of chase, and then all of a sudden it turns into a horror movie with vampire
strippers.
Yeah, and that comes out of nowhere, and this kind of has that sort of same genre shift to it.
Yeah.
Salma Hayek with a snake, though. Yeah, but so let's we'll run through the cast now that we've talked a little bit about Edgar Wright. We'll also talk about the budget for this movie and the kind of the cult status of it. So starting off, we have Michael Cera as the titular character, Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim is...
Sorry, you said titular.
I thought you were going to make fun of me for messing it up the first time. But he is a 22-year-old slacker. He is... I do a YouTube channel called Cinema Wins. If you guys haven't heard of them or checked them out, they're fantastic. And I think they did a two-parter on this episode just because it's such a great movie. But he's one step away from living in his parents' basement, basically. Literally, he lives across the street from his parents' basement. So he's a 22-year-old slacker. He's dating a high schooler. That's literally the opening. The
opening to it.
Scott Pilgrim was dating a high schooler.
17-year-old high school student.
I'm trying to remember. In the movie, do they ever talk about his parents?
No.
Okay, because in the comic, his parents are there, but they're in Europe for the most time, and no one's in the house. But there's also flashbacks to him when he was young. Because in the comic, it takes place over the course of a year, but then there's flashbacks to him when he's in high school, when he's in college, and everything.
The closest you get is when he's with Ramona and goes, "You want to see where I grew up?"
No, that's Knives.
Oh,
was it Knives?
Oh,
yeah.
Points across the street.
Goes,
well, fun
right
fact
there.
about that scene: shot in 2 different locations.
I believe it.
Yeah, they shot the exterior of the house on one lot, and then. So.
I have to say too, and I was showing the guys this before we started, in the comics, it is so amazingly accurate in the film. Like the front door to his apartment looks exactly like it does in the comic. His house, like the inside of his room with him and Wallace. Edgar Wright was able to rebuild things incredibly to just perfection in terms of recreating
or even just like
it.
the little details, like showing the hole in the moon.
Oh,
that Todd punches.
yeah.
So like whenever you see a full moon, you see it.
There's two holes in the moon because he did that twice actually in the comics.
Yeah, but in the movie he only does it
He
the
only
one
does
time
it the once
because he's vegan. But fun fact also,
Superman's a vegan?
Superman's a vegan. Tell it to the cleaning lady on Monday. But apparently Brian Lee O'Malley, the guy who created it, he was involved with the project, and he told all the cast members some secret about their character that nobody knows.
Yes, I've heard this too. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of them was about, I know one he told to Mary Elizabeth Winstead about Ramona, about the shoelace she wears.
Oh, yes, about the death of her younger brother.
Yes.
Very good. I'm impressed you knew that.
Yes. Oh, well, I'll be honest. This, like Ronnie said at the beginning, this is one of my favorite movies. I love this movie. I think it's beautifully written.
Wait a minute.
Hit me.
In the last podcast, you said Spaceballs was one of your favorite movies.
Oh yeah, no, top 5. Like these movies.
I was here. I heard you.
I know you were in the background. I'm gonna have to edit you out. But this movie, I definitely have done a lot of reading about, and just I really enjoy stuff like that. This movie is also at the same time Kick-Ass was out. And they always remind me of each other to some degree.
That's a fair comparison.
Especially because I have read the Kick-Ass comics, which are even darker.
I've read them. Yes, they are brutal.
At some point, we're going to do an episode on Kick-Ass. I know it's on our list, and its sequel, but also we're going to do I think on our list is a discussion about rated R movies, or rated R comic book movies.
Comic.
Which is a great conversation to have, especially now, because now we've passed that threshold, and we're running past that threshold. Like even this movie, even though it's a PG-13 movie, they could have made it an R movie.
I heard, actually, I was just reading that it was very close to being an R movie. They had to actually cut somebody's using the F word, and then it was because the phrase that Scott uses to number 3, the vegan, when he calls him "you cocky cock," was enough to push it almost to the R rating, and then they had to cut everything beyond that.
It's just weird. It's like such a
which
PG.
is another thing directly from the comic, actually.
Yeah. Also, you punch the highlights out of her hair.
Yeah.
And the highlights are actually on there.
They reassigned that. Actually, in the comic, his girlfriend Envy is the one that punches knives.
Oh.
Yes.
We don't use the E word in this house.
Envy.
But it's funny. This movie was such a bomb, too.
It opened up, I believe, at number 5 that weekend in the box office.
I think this movie was, like we were talking about in our Spaceballs episode for Cinematic Adventures, that this movie was ahead of its time. It was, we were still at the really, like, the start of the comic book renaissance, because what else was coming out in 2010?
Well, it was only 2 years after Iron Man.
So
and
Iron Man,
and Batman, The Dark Knight.
So we had those movies, but this movie, especially with the cast alone,
astonishing.
Like, this is a great cast, and let's
but
continue.
You didn't have any of those. They weren't big names in 2010.
Some of them were. Chris Evans was still a pretty big name.
That was it.
Brandon Routh was just kind of coming off Superman.
Michael Cera kind of was big because of Arrested Development and
Superbad,
yeah.
Well, thoughts on Michael? I actually don't have a problem with Michael Cera. I think he definitely plays his type.
Yeah.
But except in what is it? This is the End.
Yes,
he was hilarious in This is the End, where he just plays the most obnoxious parody of himself.
I'm an enormous Arrested Development fan.
Yeah, it's a good show.
I've quoted it endlessly and watched it several times. So I loved him from that. I have mixed feelings with him in this film because there are moments where he really does strike that Scott Pilgrim insecurity, which is so key to this movie. Mm-hmm. And I love him in the fight scenes, but there's some times where he's just a little too meek for Scott Pilgrim. That Scott Pilgrim in the comics and even in the movie does have sort of this slight arrogance to him that Michael Cera doesn't always have.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim's not a likable. He's not designed to be a likable character. He's supposed to grow and change throughout it, and by the end, you're supposed to like him. But it's a rough go, and that's why we were talking about The World's Ends. That's why a lot of people were turned off by The World's End, because Simon Pegg's character in that is he's just an ass.
Oh, I love his character in that.
Oh, I do too. Like I appreciate it because
it's such a 180 too from Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. From every every role, each of those characters. Like Nick Frost a little less until The World's Ends, but they all play different characters, and that's what's fun about it. But Michael Cera, I think for me he nails the role enough, and
I would agree. Yeah,
I will always laugh at him putting on his hat.
Yes,
hair's getting shaggy.
My favorite is the bread makes you fat.
I think we posted that on the Facebook.
Yeah, I think that's everyone's reaction when you hear that bread makes you fat. Everyone goes, "Bread doesn't make you fat." No, it doesn't.
So
garlic bread at every meal.
Yeah, I know, right? I just eat it all the time and never stop. But going down the list, we have Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Ramona Flowers. Full disclosure, I have a huge crush on her. I think she's fantastic, and I think
a lot of us at this table would probably agree that we have a crush on her. Yeah.
And blue hair Ramona Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah. Gets you blue.
Easy.
Oh, this is a family show.
That was gross.
Blue in the
Why
face.
would I be holding my breath? Yeah, see, I was with you. But
I do like her. I think sometimes she's a little too standoffish and aloof in this, and a little too playing hard to get. Because in the comics, and I'm sorry, I keep going back.
No, please.
In the comics, she's actually a lot more likable. She does have, she comes across as damaged but likable, whereas in here she comes across as damaged and like standoffish at times. And it's the same feeling you have for what's her name who plays Captain Marvel?
Oh, Brie Larson.
Yeah, Brie Larson, who's
Envy Adams
in this.
Yeah.
But it's that same sort of standoffishness that I don't care for, that I think she doesn't. She gets away from it at times, and especially at the end with Gideon.
Yeah.
But she's serviceable. She's good enough.
Yeah.
And then we have Kieran Culkin, who, as well as Wells, and he steals the movie for
Kieran
me.
Culkin is a treasure.
He is like the loyal best friend, but at the same time, the call you out on your crap best friend. One of my favorite movie moments of all time is when the phone rings after he gets off the phone with Envy, and it's Knives.
Yep.
And she knocks on the. You know what? You're outside. Sorry? He opens the door, and you just see, is Scott here? You know what? And he closes the door partially.
Yep.
Scott jumps out the window.
We just left.
We quote that all the time in this house. Like
Kieran Culkin absolutely nails Wallace. That is exactly like him in the comics.
Wallace again. Going down, we have Chris Evans as Lucas Lee. He was probably one of the bigger names in this movie when it first came out. And
was he Captain America yet at this point?
No. Oh wait, maybe
2010 to the internet.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Well, I see on your wall, Captain America: The Winter Soldier came out in 2014, so I'm guessing Captain America probably came out in 2012.
Yeah. They might have announced it at this point, but
he was probably just in The Losers at this point.
I love that. That's another. That's on our list.
That's an
Fantastic Four.
And he is in Fantastic Four.
That was his big one.
Yeah.
Not another teen movie.
Yeah.
But
actually, The Losers is a very underrated movie.
The Losers,
like The Losers,
unfortunately, we saw it in theaters.
Yep.
The Losers came out at the same time as the A-Team. Which both serviceable movies. But
they cannibalize each other, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it's like Deep Impact and Armageddon coming out at the same time. Like unfortunately, they were too similar. But The Losers is definitely an underrated gem. We'll definitely talk about it at some point. We have Anna Kendrick as Stacy Pilgrim,
who's not given enough to do. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna say who's probably the second biggest person to come.
She wasn't. This was before Pitch Perfect.
No, I know that. I'm just saying though, she's the second. Like, if you go down this list, she's probably the second.
One of the
obviously Chris Evans is the biggest, and then talking nowadays, Anna Kendrick
and future hopeful Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love her as Squirrel Girl.
Everyone would. Yeah. She doesn't know anything about it.
No.
Like she said, I don't know anything about Squirrel Girl. Everyone keeps telling me I'm supposed to do this. I don't think I'm ever going to do it.
She would be perfect.
She would be.
She would be really good.
She's not given enough to do in the movie, which is unfortunate. There's a lot of, Scott Pilgrim comic is about 1,000 pages that they're covering in this film, and they're cutting it down to a 2-hour runtime. So you have to cut some things, but she's got a lot more to do in the comics. There's other there's a Lisa who's a former high school friend of his. There's what's her name? Alison Pill, the drummer. Kim's got huge plots in the comic that they had to cut.
Yeah. We have Brie Larson as Envy Adams,
which does not look like her.
I was just gonna say that.
Right?
I even though I knew, because you guys shocked me a couple weeks ago. You're like, that she's in Scott Pilgrim. I'm like, no, she's not. And even when rewatching it this week, I'm like, no, that can't be Brie Larson.
You are incorrigible.
I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
It does not.
It doesn't look like her in the slightest.
She's very slender in this, and
but even in the face.
It's
I don't
interesting.
see her.
No.
We mentioned Alison.
Oh wait, real quick fun fact on that. To prepare for the role, she watched the Adult Video Awards and watched all the performers from that, and not their videos, but watched them at the show to sort of get that arrogance that they all have, and this sort of I'm so I'm amazingly sexy and better than everyone else. She said she watched the AVNs for inspiration as to how to speak and walk as that character.
Well, one of my favorites is when you first see her and she's standing in front of her own poster in the same pose, and she just walks in that pose. Oh, okay, I'm totally jealous. But we mentioned Alison Pill as Kim Pine. Aubrey Plaza.
I love
Aubrey Plaza. She's really funny.
Oh,
as
God,
Julie,
yes.
and still one of my.
You love her in this, or you love her just in general?
In general.
In general.
Yeah. Why? Help me to, because I kind of like her.
Parks and Rec.
I haven't watched
Mike and Dave.
Mike and Dave need wedding dates.
Wait, Mike and Dave. I haven't seen
that. That's a fun movie.
But I just. She kind of plays the same character and everything, that snarky kind of
hot nerd.
Yeah, which I mean, I feel like is kind of relatable to me. I don't know about the hot part, but the snarky part,
Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I just
look at him fishing for compliments right there.
No, I wasn't fishing for compliments. I was just saying that snarkiness. I just love that.
Really?
And I had more of a crush on her than Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Wow, that's
really
yes.
Because I have to say, I
is it because she could do that thing with her mouth?
What can she do?
That's when
where
she's
she,
saying
bleeps
she keeps
herself
dropping
out?
the F-bombs.
Oh, right.
And Scott goes, "How are you doing that with your mouth?"
Do you know what that sound is that she's doing?
What is that sound?
I read about this trivia. That is the sound that your computers would make when they were doing dial-up and connecting to a modem.
I also there are a lot of fun sound effects in this movie. Sonic the Hedgehog's used.
Zelda.
Zelda. The Universal theme when Chris Evans walks out.
But I gotta say, just to wrap that up, I still don't totally get. Is it Aubrey or Audrey?
Aubrey.
I thought so. Okay.
Watch Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, or even though it's a terrible movie, Dirty Grandpa. You'll get it. You'll get it.
Really?
Yeah, you'll get it.
Because she does always play that same character, and sometimes, a lot of times, it grates on me. But all right, I'll give her a shot.
She's way different in Mike and Dave Need Wedding
Dates. Oh
Dates.
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And then Dirty Grandpa, she hose it up a little bit.
Yeah.
We have Brandon Routh as Todd Ingram, and this was him as Ray Palmer-ish, like that same kind of humor.
But he's so cool in this, though.
I love it. I love it.
I watch him, and I'm like, I kind of want to be him.
Like dumb jock, dumb handsome jock, and he plays the bass. He's
got that great hair.
Oh, he does have great hair. But it deflates at the end. Jason Schwartzman as Gideon Graves, the main bad guy.
Jason Schwartzman playing Jason Schwartzman.
Pretty much. Johnny Simmons as young Neil.
Where do I know him from?
He was in the only thing I really know him from.
Because he looks so familiar, and I couldn't place it.
He was in Evan Almighty. That was a dumb movie.
No.
Perks of Being a Wallflower. The one I know him from is come on, I can do this. Is Jennifer's Body.
Okay, I
21
think
Jump Street.
No, I think I know
he
him
only
from Perks.
cameos in.
I think I know him from Perks from Being a Wallflower, which is a really deeply underrated movie.
I
and
love
book.
that movie.
Yes,
and
book.
book.
Which fun fact on that? The author directed that film.
Yeah,
which can be a good and bad thing. There have been examples.
It was good. Yeah.
I can't think of one off the top of my head of where
Steven Chbosky is his name.
But I like Johnny Simmons. I want to see him do more. He's really funny in Jennifer's Body.
Oh yeah.
Another underrated cult classic kind of movie. We got Mark Webber as Steven Stills. I love Steven.
I love that it's Steven Stills and young Neil.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do love when he's like freaking out while the other band's playing and it's doing the captions.
Yeah.
Very comic accurate, actually.
And when Scott just smacks him, we need to play loud and now. Okay. We have Mai Whitman, another actress who a little bit more well-known now as Roxy Richter.
And also an Arrested Development alumnus.
Mm-hmm. And some of the best lines in the entire movie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, does she know me. You and her? It was just a phase. Just a phase? You had a sexy face? I feel like we just washed our dirty laundry in front of everybody. But we have Ellen Wong as Knives Chow in her feature film debut.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to ruin these names. I'm so sorry. Satya Baba as Matthew Patel, Ramona's first evil ex-boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
The Saito twins as Kyle and Ken Katayanagi.
Which I read that neither of them knew English, and Edgar Wright was trying to direct them through, and he said that a lot of it was just hand gestures.
Oh, yeah. We got Nelson Franklin as Michael Cuomo.
Who's that?
He's the one that he's like, hey, Cuomo, you know everybody here.
Oh, yes, yes.
And it's
weirdly enough, his character in the comics looks like that actor.
That's awesome.
That's funny.
He's the hipster type character because when Scott goes to the end of the level, he's making fun of things and then he does it again. We got Bill Hader as the voice, which is great.
Wait, what?
Bill Hader's the narrator.
When is there a narrator? No, I don't remember this.
In the mysterious land of Toronto.
Oh, at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But also he does it when Scott earned the power of love.
That's Bill Hader?
And also when
and self-respect.
The haircut scene. Scott is duly aware that his last salon haircut was... Yeah.
I read this too, that in the beginning there was originally a prologue where they introduced all the characters, and Quentin Tarantino said it's not a good idea. You should do just something else because the audience will feel overwhelmed, and it was his idea to scale it back. He also showed it to Kevin Smith.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they were some of the first people to see it.
The problem with doing something like that with the big... This is an ensemble cast movie. Like, you can't remember... You don't remember anybody.
No.
But let's see. Going down, we have... now we're in kind of like the B list, but
yeah.
I do want to mention Thomas Jane as one of the vegan police officers, which is hilarious. And then some of these, we got Michael Lazarus as some guy. Yeah.
Who's I don't know, remember the name, but the drummer from Clash at what's the
Clash of
name?
Demon Head?
Clash of Demon Head, the drummer, actually has a big role in the comic where the drummer has a bionic arm. And can fight with it and everything, and is actually has part in the number 3 fight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they ended up cutting that. She's very ninja-esque. She says, I blend into the background, which actually is funny because in the movie she does blend into the background.
That's funny. So that's the main cast. We're going to go through the plot. We're not going to get like super crazy with it because I also know we're going to be like quoting it, and we're already a half hour in. So the movie starts off in Toronto. 22-year-old Scott Pilgrim. He's a bassist for his band's Sex Babam.
Which Michael Cera is actually a very accomplished guitarist.
He had to tone it down.
He did have
because
to
a lot of the other actors had to learn from scratch. So right off the bat, this movie starts off immediately with the video game references. You have, the ding dong with the words appearing. You get your
very, very 1966 Batman-esque.
Yeah,
with a lot of the
text boxes,
the onomatopoeia.
Yeah, I still don't know what that means. But we find out that he is now dating 17-year-old Chinese schoolgirl Knives Chow, to the disapproval of all of his friends in the bands. So
and his roommate and his sister.
Well, one of the best scenes is when Wallace goes to the school with him. And he's like, yeah, there are boys here too. Even I would think twice about dating a 17-year-old. And then when Knives comes out, do you want to know who my class is gay? Does he wear glasses?
Again, it's funny that the first, I'd say, 4 to 5 issues are ripped directly of comics are right on the scene.
Yeah.
Like like panel for panel. It's amazing.
And then he hooks up with a gay guy with glasses.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy. Yep.
Who plays Jimmy? We skipped over Jimmy. And other Scott.
Yeah.
What is it, Scott? I had a nightmare. What is it, other Scott?
Kajartan Hewitt plays Jimmy.
So Scott's also
living.
His first name. Scott's living in basically a basement apartment. You could tell an apartment is a basement apartment by if it has a letter attached to it.
Oh, what?
It's if it has a letter. So if it's
I heard you. I just didn't understand.
Apartment 2A.
Really?
Those are lower level apartments.
Having never lived in an apartment, I did not know that.
Obviously, you haven't seen Fight Club either.
Actually, it's been many, many years.
There's a scene. So this is a true thing. There's a scene in Fight Club where the narrator and Tyler Durden take a veterinarian student hostage, and they have a gun pointed at him.
Okay.
And they find out that he lives in an apartment 2A, and he's like, crappy little basement apartment. He's like, how did you know that? Because they always give letter designations.
Oh, wow. It's probably been about 20 years since I've seen Fight Club.
That's a great movie. You should do that on Cinematic Adventures soon.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. So
as long as you don't talk about it.
Yeah, we don't talk about it. But that's actually a true story.
I have some rules here about that, actually.
Yeah, by the way, you're never allowed to have paper again during any sort of recording.
Why?
Because if you watch our YouTube video after the intro, all we hear is because you're making your paper airplane.
You can't have anything.
I know. I'm so restricted. I'm some kind of fidgety. So I have, for the listeners, I have like a mala beads on my wrist to play with, so that way.
I thought they were a different kind of beads.
These are mala beads. Shame on you.
Why would you put those in your mouth?
Don't you peace shame me. These are mala beads. There's a certain number of them, and you count them, and it helps you to focus, and it keeps my hands off the microphone.
I just
Don't worry.
I just play with the headphone mic.
Don't worry.
Wire.
Sean broke the recording during Cinematic Adventures, and Melanie hit her head on the microphone.
I was here for when he broke it. Went,
Yeah.
oh, really? Melanie hit her head?
Oh, it was
Yes.
great.
Oh, it was classic.
I'll let you hear the thump after this.
Yes.
It was good. But
I had a good line with it too.
Yeah. What was your line again? Then it wasn't that good.
Well, no, because I don't want to spoil it.
You're
for
spoil
everyone.
it. You gotta listen to Cinematic Adventures.
I'll tell them on the side.
Is it Cinematic Adventure or
Cinematic Adventures, unless you're looking at our logo.
No,
sometimes
the logo's changed.
And
It
sometimes
says
there's an
Adventures.
No.
Yes, it does.
No.
I changed it.
No,
You didn't send it to me.
No. And
that's
sometimes there's
your
an
Look it up, Maddie's. Look it up.
sometimes there's an apostrophe. too.
Sometimes. I had to fix that. I fixed that.
That's
But
good. I don't do this.
So Scott Pilgrim, I do all the social media. Thank you very much. Ronnie does the technical stuff, and then Melanie directs, and Rob and Sean are just the talent.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Steven Stills.
That's the talent.
So we got Scott. He's dating Knives, and with the beginning of the movie is a lot of setup. It's a lot of here's Scott. He's the slacker. Here's his bands. They are all like way more interested. They're more interested in the music than he is. And
who wrote the music?
I don't know.
Beck.
Beck. Oh,
Yes, Beck
look
wrote
at that.
all the music.
That's awesome. This movie has a killer soundtrack. You got the opening. I think it's just called "We Are Sex Bomb." You got "Garbage Truck." You got "Threshold." A lot of good stuff in this, and the music's always kind of reflective of what's going on too, which is even better. Yeah. But so Scott is dating Knives, and he meets an American. She's American from America. Amazon delivery girl named Ramona Flowers. After he saw her in a dream. And again, that's one of the best scenes when he wakes up.
That. He orders it, and like
Scott?
2 seconds later, he's like, "Is it here yet? How long does it take?"
Amazon.ca. What's the website?
Amazon.ca.
Amazon.ca. Also, I love the scene before that when Wallace busts into the apartment. Guess who's drunk?
Oh yeah.
And he's able to text Stacy.
Yep.
Yeah. You're thinking of juggling 2 chicks? Not even. How did you even know, Wallace? He's not even conscious. How do you do that? But we're jumping way ahead. But yeah. So Scott is like we said, he's an underachiever. He's dating the 17-year-old after his big breakup with Envy Adams, who we meet later on.
And not to pun, but he is definitely Scott Pilgrim's in a state of arrested development where he's just not moving forward in any of his life achievements.
And they use a lot of visual cues to show that, like when they go around when they pan around their apartment, and it shows all the nice things that Wallace has, all the crappy things that he has. The sounds are different.
Yes, because Wallace actually, I don't think they mentioned it, but Wallace actually does have a job.
Oh, yeah. But, and they share a bed. It's the cutest thing. But,
I'm going to need the bed tonight.
What was that?
I'm going to need the bed tonight.
I'm going to need the bed tonight. Turn off the lights!
And tomorrow. And for the rest of the week.
I imagine you've seen some things, and for that I apologize. I'm sorry, too. I can't make that up. But, so after he meets Ramona, though, first he sees her in the dream, then he sees her at the library, and he immediately loses interest in Knives. Like, is your girlfriend distracting you? My girlfriend? Oh, be quieter. And Knives is so likable in this movie.
She is, and in the comics, she's very likable, and she has a lot more arcs, and she actually sticks around a lot more for a lot more events in the comics. And it is sad because she is kind of she is kind of shoved to the side a little bit by him.
But so he doesn't break up with her though, but he starts pursuing Ramona, and like Ronnie said, he first they go to the party and he does the Pac-Man story.
Yeah.
Which apparently is true too. The Puck-Man and they didn't want to have it vandal. So they're in that scene. If you look at it, there's a light switch way above their heads.
Like 7 feet up there.
And it's the weirdest thing, but they said we filmed in this frat house basically, and we didn't know what it was.
They didn't know either.
Yeah, like it doesn't do anything. It's more just aesthetic than anything else. But I do love the he stalked her until she left the party.
Yeah.
But have you guys seen the blooper reel?
No.
After this, we're watching the blooper reel because it's great. The scene where he goes to Johnny Simmons, young Neil. Yeah. Dude, what? She's totally real. The bloopers are hilarious of them trying to get through that sequence. And apparently it took Michael Cera through that package over his shoulder like 30 plus times before he finally got it. Very similar to Sigourney Weaver in one of the Aliens movies where she tossed a basketball.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like it took dozens of tries and then she finally just nailed it. So, yeah. So Scott finds out that she works for Amazon from Julie, who dated Steven. But I thought you guys broke up, which is great. Apparently Steven's gay in the comics. He comes out at the end. Steven Stills? The talent?
Oh, the talent. I haven't made it to the complete end of the comics
sorry,
yet.
I spoiled that for you. But
I'll live.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
I'm almost there.
You know what? I also want to say, like, this movie came out in 2010, and we've done a lot of movies. Like, on Cinematic Adventures, we just did Blazing Saddles, which, it's very much a product of its time, but also satire and very culturally relevant still. I love watching this movie, and it was so far ahead of its time.
It could have been made yesterday, and we would have believed it.
Like, they do so much with, there are some lines, like, I think Kim drops the
R word.
The R word.
Yeah.
Scott mentions, like, aren't you not allowed to date outside your culture?
Oh, yeah, outside your race, I think
something
he
like
says.
that,
So
yeah.
I cringed when I heard
There's, like,
that.
one or two lines that are very 2010, but, like, concept-wise, this movie is exceptionally... Like, Ramona Flowers is a very strong female character. Like, the scene where... Like, again, we're jumping around a little, but who cares? It's our podcast.
Yeah,
we do what we want.
Yeah, get your own podcast. We had 20 listeners today.
Yes.
But, so there's a scene in this movie with Ramona Flowers where it's when her and Scott have their first date, and they go back to her house. And, well, first of all, her nailing it with naming all the T's. That's a great scene.
Yeah.
Did you make some of those up?
And she memorized that.
Yeah, which is even crazier. Like, most actors would have the lines in there.
Yes, nope.
Yep.
She
Like
knew it.
Marlon Brando had the lines for Superman on the baby's diaper.
Yeah.
Marlon Brando, actually, fun fact, was notorious for it. Like, I believe it was in The Waterfront. He would take his lines and tape them to his to the forehead of the person he was speaking to. Yeah.
Great actor, really terrible person.
Really demeaning.
Well, I mean, like, look at Apocalypse Now, where he was supposed to be, like, 90 pounds lighter and have hair. But that's neither here nor there.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. This is what
she had those T's memorized.
But the scene that I'm talking about, because like I was saying, this movie is very far ahead of its time, where she and Scott start being intimate, and she stops, and she says, I changed my mind. I'm not going to have sex with you. You can stay here. You can spend the night in my bed because I'm not going to send you out in a snowstorm, and I reserve the right to change my mind.
Go girl power.
And But also,
Yas, queen.
The other thing about that scene
that's
is...
what the kids say now.
Yeah. Scott Pilgrim, like, he's like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I might just need this then. That's fine. And that was like a huge, like, moment where they're talking about consent and past traumas and emotional connection, and they're doing it all in a 13-second scene where you don't even think about it. Like, this movie was really, really far ahead of its time, and I think it's reflective that now it's got such a big cult following. I mean, during COVID, they did like a whole screen reading of this.
Did they? That's
they
cool.
they did like a table read for the whole movie, and they got I think they got almost everybody back for it.
Well, one of the things is I know that everybody loves Edgar Wright. Like, it's funny too because with so many in the Me Too era, you have so many people who are coming out with other producers and directors and say no one has ever said a bad thing about Edgar Wright. He is just seems like he really runs a fun set for as demanding as his marks probably are. Because I'm thinking of like Baby Driver, where you probably had to hit so many marks,
especially like when he's like even like in the very opening scene of Baby Driver.
That's
when,
what I was thinking of actually.
Elgort, I think his name.
Ansel Elgort,
and he's gonna be in West Side Story. That trailer just dropped.
Yeah,
it looks good. But where he's like, even like with the seatbelt, and he's just like to the exact phrase of the song, like, oh god,
I'm sure it's demanding, but I've heard that he is Edgar Wright's just everyone wants to work with him.
Yeah.
He's a great person.
And I like that
except Marvel doesn't want to work with him.
Yeah, well, because
they're a loss.
As much as we love Marvel, and Rob and I were just talking off recording about Marvel and its inaccessibility, because like you can't send a 15-year-old who's never seen a Marvel movie into like, well, you got to start 10 years ago and work.
Yeah.
Marvel is notorious for this is how we do it, and you will do it our way. And that's why a lot of directors, Patty Jenkins walked away from Marvel because she had a vision for Thor: The Dark World, I think it was.
Oh, was she involved?
She was supposed to do Thor: The Dark World, and Natalie Portman got really angry, and that's why she didn't come back for, obviously now she's back. But
well, that's why I'm so interested in seeing the Eternals, because now you've got Chloe Zhao doing it, who just won an Oscar this past Sunday for directing Nomadland, and she has a very distinct look to her films, and there's certain tropes that she has in all of her films, and I'm wondering how that's going to translate to Marvel. So I cannot wait to see this.
As much as we joke, like I have to say it, and I know you'll agree, Rob. Even
I probably
though
will.
Marvel has a very distinct look at this point.
Yes.
Trying, even like when, so say what you will about the DC universe, their movies all look very different. They all have their own, like Aquaman, even Aquaman and Shazam, which are more in that post-Justice League era, they aesthetically, they look very different, but at the same time, you could tell they're in the same universe. Marvel, their movies, it's not till more recently with like Infinity War and Endgame and just, Guardians of the Galaxy was really the testament to it.
Yeah.
Their movies all look the exact same. They all had a very similar, like, they all
almost kind of washed out.
Yeah. Like, even the characters, they all talk the same.
Yeah.
They all had that same, like, they make fun of it in Age of Ultron when, Ultron makes the joke about omelets and breaking eggs, and Tony Stark's like, he beat me by 1 second.
Yeah, it's sort of like in Marvel that they're like, here's the train tracks. Stick to the train tracks. You can go anywhere you want on the train tracks.
The train can look however you want.
And the train goes all over the country, but don't get off the tracks.
But, that's why, like, if we're going to ever suggest a comic book movie, and me personally, if somebody's like, I want to watch a comic book movie, what's a good one to watch? I will throw out Scott Pilgrim.
Now, here's the thing. I actually threw this out there to my family about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. They did not like it at all.
Really?
Yes. Well, first of all, I think Timmy was too young because he was only like...
Which is weird because the fight scenes in this movie are on.
Well, that's why I thought he would love it, because I'm like, if you ever, let's watch this. It's like watching a video game movie.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of stuff went over his head. I think also it was too frantic for his brain, because like he's 13 now, so he must have been about 8 or 9 when he watched it. I think it was just too hard to follow for him.
Yeah.
So I'd love it if he watched it again. But I have to say, that is a complaint I have too, that I think the opening half hour is too, not that I'm using this as a label or in a negative way, but it's too ADD. That it's all like zip, 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 this here, then go there, then over there. And I think they... Ronnie.
Puts his Adderall away slowly.
Yeah, right? But I think they could have like untightened the editing just a little bit in that first.
But unfortunately,
half hour.
that's Edgar Wright. Even like Hot Fuzz, which is his more like the more serious quote unquote of the.
Is it really?
I think in terms of like content wise, it's not until he meets Danny that the comedy starts with that movie.
That's true. Okay.
I would say World's End is probably up there too with how his serious style, but all of his movies are very, very fast paced. The editing alone is like cut and cut and cut and cut and cut, and it's all one scene, like just for his storytelling. But going back to the plot of this movie, somehow we get our first interaction with the Battle of the Bands. They fight Crash and the Boys. Is that band with Crash and those boys? Yeah, I hate those guys. But we do get some of the more like nuanced things with this is our first song. It is called "I Am Sad. I Am So Very Sad." It goes a little something like this. So sad. Thank you. It's not a race, guys. I love Wallace.
Yeah.
And he's hitting on Jimmy the whole time. So we are all in serious relationships with a significant other.
I am? Oh, right. I've been married for over 20 years.
I know. Lauren just hasn't had the heart to tell you yet. But if even like in the early dating stages, if I invited a date to my show, and she saw another girl run up and kiss me, isn't that a red flag?
Dead.
Yeah,
So
I've like as funny as it is.
Not if you're in Utah.
What is wrong? What?
They're polygamists.
Get out
You
of
could
here.
be. Yes,
It's like
in
they
Utah.
don't even
They're
know
in
you.
Canada.
I'm just saying.
They're in Canada.
Well, you asked about the situation. I said if you're in Utah, it's okay.
Even still, I feel like that's a
'Cause-
conversation we should have had beforehand, before I committed to this. But I have to go, and he just runs away. I love.
Oh no! Doesn't he say like he's between like?
No. That's later on.
Oh, that's later.
When
Okay. Sorry, I
with
don't
the
want to ruin
pee
that.
meter?
when Knives
Yeah.
is dating.
No.
I have to pee on her.
Yes.
That's when Knives is trying to make him jealous with young Neil.
Yeah.
I was rewatching it.
How do you
at
know that
night.
girl again?
I was rewatching the movie this week, and I was in bed, and Lauren was asleep next to me, and that line came up. I have to pee on her, and I burst out laughing. I almost woke her up.
Yeah.
No, you know what gets me about this scene though, when first like Scott looks at one of them, and then Knives looks at Ramona, and then Wallace looks at Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, he's just because like Wallace is already hitting on Jimmy. Yeah. Oh, it's such a great scene.
I have to say too, and this is something you and I were alluding to off mic, that this movie is it's fun. It's so much fun, and I have to say, like, this is I had a great week preparing for this show. Like, I did my homework with, doing some research and watching videos on YouTube and reading the comics and rewatching the movie, and it was such a nice week as a result of that. Like, I really had a lot of fun just going through it and reliving this, because it's such a great film. It's so enjoyable, and you smile your way through the movie.
Yes,
so much.
definitely.
So.
Yeah, I rewatched it this week too, and this was the first time I've seen it in, I don't know, years or whatever, and I'm like, God, how I've missed this movie.
Yeah.
Just the whole entire 2 hours?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Or roughly, just smiling.
Oh, yeah.
Ear to ear, just haha, this is awesome.
Well, especially once we get the appearance of Matthew Patel.
Yes.
Oh, I love. Didn't you get my email explaining the situation?
I love in the comics, it's not only an email, but he's like, did you get my hand-delivered letter? I traipsed through a snowstorm to give that to you.
But so he breaks in, and I love how they nonchalantly kill Crash and the boys during this.
Yeah.
They're just skeletons.
Oh, Crash.
But you get your first Evil X fight, and
Which, on since you bring it up, body count, 47.
not surprised.
Yeah.
Like, this movie, people die.
Yeah, and that's 47 counting the death of Scott Pilgrim, too.
Oh, yeah. But I do love, the first fight just out of nowhere. Just like, not only just beautifully choreographed martial arts, and I think all three of us can appreciate that to a certain degree, but also Michael Cera did a lot of it. There are a lot of shots of him doing it.
Yeah.
And, like little nuances, like adding the dust to them. Matthew Patel blows off his shoulder.
Yeah.
When they hit each other, the sound effects, Bill Hader, doing his narration, and Wallace doing the first really big fight, but then the second one is like, Evil X, fight. But it really starts the second half of this movie, and it starts it off like big.
Mm-hmm.
And and then it shows Scott what kind of terrible person he is, where he's like, so if you are to continue to date, I have to defeat your exes. Does that mean we can make out?
Yeah.
And he still has not
He's
broken
all about making out.
Yeah.
and he still has not broken up with Knives at that point.
No.
Who fainted during the show.
To his credit, he is not physical with Knives when he starts dating Ramona.
Think we held hands once?
She jumped up on and kissed him once, but it was more of like a she did it to me kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that would fly, but
No,
okay.
Agreed. He's still dating.
Yeah.
And then we have the Seinfeld moment, which
Yeah.
it feels a little out of place, but it's still really funny.
Yeah, that part I felt was a little dated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was exceptionally
Yeah.
dated, but like it's
And not,
really
not
funny.
in a good way.
Yeah.
With the bacon Wallace is just making bacon.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of bacon in the comics.
Yeah,
One of my favorite moments though is when Jimmy comes out of the bathroom after Wallace was just berating him about seeing other people.
Yeah.
And he's like, double standard. I didn't make up the gay rule book. And he's following with his hand. He hits up with the spatula. Stop it.
That's what makes Edgar Wright such a great visual storyteller, is because he knows how to get comedy out of these moments that are seemingly innocuous. Like there was one, I watched a video online. It's a channel called Every Frame a Painting. I'd highly encourage you to watch them. And they talk about Edgar Wright as a visual storyteller, and they show two different movies showing the exact same sequence. One is I don't even know what movie it is. I think it's The Heat with Sandra Bullock.
Oh yeah.
And they show her moving to the big city, and they show like second unit stuff and like just the car moving and a highway and some signs. And they compare that to in Hot Fuzz when he has to relocate with his plant, and they're saying
the Japanese peace lily,
and they show how here's a moment where you could have done nothing with it, with just showing them that he moved, but Edgar Wright is able to squeeze so much comedy out of something that is so everyday. That he's asleep next to the train, and then
just
all
washing
of a sudden,
your hands.
Yeah, just washing your hand. Like Edgar Wright can find all these little moments and just make great comedy.
You know, the best example of it though is Hot Fuzz, when they're talking about all of Nicholas Angel's credentials, advanced driving and advanced cycling. He peels in and he's like just perfect example of just the mundane.
Yeah, if you are not into Edgar Wright, you really need to get into him quickly, because he is just, every moment is just such a joy in watching his films.
Yeah. So Scott finally does break up with Knives, though, and she blames Ramona, and she swears to get Scott back. That's another great scene when she's doing her hair, and she's like screaming in the bathroom. Her friend's like, I can't understand a word you're saying. Scott does get attacked, who does he get? Next up is
Chris Evans.
We're only at number 2?
We're
All
only
right,
at
we got to
number 2.
speed this up.
Yeah, we got to move this up. Chris Evans, who plays Lucas Lee, and I like how each fight is different.
Yeah.
And I also love how Wallace is totally in love with Lucas. I want to have his adopted babies.
Yeah.
But
and fun fact, the Chris Evans stunt, Lucas Lee's stunt double
is Chris Evans.
Actually, is Chris Evans' stunt double.
They had a lot of trouble getting the Universal sound effect.
Oh, I bet.
Logistically,
yeah.
Even though it's a Universal movie, which is even funnier.
Still, you can't use it during a movie.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
But they were able to convince the studio to let them do it, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And apparently, Chris Evans crushed a real cup of hot coffee in his hand.
Jeez.
Like, because he's Captain America.
Yeah.
But
it's just Chris Evans, like, he's another one that if you only know him for Captain America, you only know half the story there. If you've ever seen Knives Out,
he's a jerk in that movie. It's
such
great.
a jerk.
But even Fantastic Four and the Losers, Losers is a great transition between Fantastic Four and Captain America. He's kind of
I never liked the Fantastic Four movies. I think they're terrible, but he brings some fun to it.
I look at those much more fondly after Fan Four Stick.
Oh God, who wouldn't?
Yeah. Also, that movie was made by its cast and practical effects. I really enjoy the Thing's practical effects, and I will not say that they are great movies by any stretch of the imagination, but I do enjoy them for where they were. They were that Sam Raimi Spider-Man era.
And your love of those practical effects is also very relevant in Scott Pilgrim, because Edgar Wright likes a lot of. You were saying earlier to me about some of the practical effects that they do in there.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. Like, practical effects are always well done. Like the scene where he goes in to pee, he's leaving the living room, goes into the bathroom, and it's all one continuous shot. Edgar Wright loves continuous shots.
Oh my gosh.
But when he walks out, he's walking in the school hallway. The way they did that, I believe they rotated the set. So, like, very, very like Christopher Nolan Inception with the hallway.
That's so funny. I was just thinking of Christopher Nolan when
it's the most well-known example now. Because Chris Nolan's another one. Practical.
He loves his practical effects. He'll actually crash a plane for Tenet. Which is great.
And for The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes, and with the truck flipping it, like he actually flipped that truck.
Yeah. There's this movie called Fanboys. I know you've seen it, Ronnie. I don't think.
Not yet. I've been told by several people I should watch it.
I own it. So
I know, and you've mentioned that you want to lend it to me, and I'm like,
I think we might have to do a movie night at this point. It's a movie about 4 friends who are trying to steal a copy of Episode 1 before it comes out, and there's a great line in it. Without spoiling too much, one of the characters does actually get to see it, and they're all asking, "How is it?" And he's like, "Not telling." And he goes on a little. He's like, you got to embrace the flaws. Sometimes the crappy effects, the real puppets. It's the blemishes that make these things beautiful.
Yeah.
And movies like this that use practical effects that in a way that you feel like you can reach out and touch them are always just a little bit better for me.
They are. I love 80s horror movies because of that practical gore and the makeup that they go through. Like CGI is just...
Yeah. Well, it's funny also, good. We like I said, we watched Mortal Kombat recently, and the gore and the violence in that is fantastic.
In the new one?
In the new one.
I've heard it's too, CGI'd over the top.
It is CGI over the top, but also that's reflective of the medium.
But because it's a video game.
Video, that, and that's what makes this movie
give it a shot.
I recommend it because it's more of a Mortal Kombat prequel than anything else because it's not the actual tournament, which is very strange. But this isn't that.
That's for the sequel.
Yeah. But we also get after Lucas Lee's defeat, and one of my favorite bits is wow. As he's skating.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. But he explodes skateboarding.
Yeah.
Lucas Lee. We get Todd Ingram, who is vegan and...
You mean vegan?
Vegan.
Vegan.
Defeated after a base battle, and Scott manages to trick him into drinking coffee with half and half.
And he's already had gelato
and chicken parmesan. Well, apparently in the comics, he was constantly eating chicken parm.
Yeah, he did. And there's the
scene I know.
The scene of him eating gelato is actually in the comics. Yes,
That's
and he knows it. And he's like Envy says, isn't there? She goes, "Is that vegan?" He goes, "Oh yeah." And then he turns to his friend. And he's like, "She doesn't know that there's eggs in it."
I love the actual line. It's milk and eggs, bitch. But chicken isn't vegan?
All that curds and whey gets in the... what does he say? All that curds and whey is taking up the other 90% of your brain?
Yeah, something like that. But we also meet Roxy Richter, who is a lesbian ninja.
Yep.
And, that's the one scene in this movie that is a little... When he defeats her by having her orgasm to death.
Which actually, okay,
that's a little controversial.
I can help you with this. They took that in the comics because that is not her weakness in the comics. That is Envy's weakness in the comics.
Oh.
Yes, because there is a fight between Ramona and Envy, and that's how he defeats Envy.
I love the fight between Ramona and Roxy, though.
Yeah.
First with the giant hammer, because that's like a nod to video games and having the...
And she has the hammer in the comics too. Yeah.
But it's her only fight scene really in this entire movie. Yeah. But and then she helps Scott actually. I don't think I can hit a girl. They're soft.
And this was pointed out online, and I didn't notice this, that only Matthew Patel does he defeat by himself. All the other ones he's with someone else that helps him defeat.
Well, I mean, he defeats Todd Ingram.
Which one? Wait, which one?
Todd.
Oh,
Vegan
Todd.
Vegan Todd.
And he doesn't defeat him. It's the vegan police.
What about Lucas Lee?
Which one?
Chris Evans.
He gets defeated from a skateboard.
I know, but he kind of he tricks him into it. There are girls watching.
He doesn't actually do it.
That's fair. What about the Katayanagi, the Asian?
That was the music.
That's the band. He has the band.
Well, he does in this. He does he stomps on the giant ape thing.
But it's the band helping him.
It's still also the best song in the entire movie. I love Threshold. That is a great song.
I think Rob's point was he does it solo.
Yes.
No, I get it, but I'm also thinking about it too.
Yeah. Because then with Gideon, it's not.
Yeah,
just
he
him,
teams
it's
up with Knives because he loses the first round.
And Ramona. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, no, Ramona only knees him in the nuts, and then he smacks her.
Where he says, "Now we'll both be girls."
Yeah.
Which is a line from not that fight. That's what's neat in reading the comics is because you see all of the different ingredients. They're just remixed differently in the film.
Yeah. But so where are we? Oh man.
Number 4, Roxy.
The twins.
With Roxy, and that causes her and Scott to break up.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, because you said you were uncomfortable with the behind the knee thing.
Behind the knee.
Yeah. But it's still one of my favorite lines. 2 gin and tonics, please. Thought you didn't drink. Only on special occasions. Why did you want one? Yeah, because you do. Scott drinks Coke Zeros in the movie,
which makes sense because he is a zero.
Well, what's even funnier is after this scene, he's wearing a Fantastic Four shirt that has a 4.5 because he's 4.5 of an X.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does.
And he's got this. I think it's Smashing Pumpkins, the Zero shirt.
Yeah, something like that. But he's also he he doesn't drink. That's the big thing. No. And I think in the comics, I think
he doesn't drink there either.
Yeah, they bring it up a little bit more. But so there he then defeats the twins, and he earns an extra life in the process, which is great. And
which you don't find out until later.
Well, no, you see him getting a life, and he grabs it.
What are you doing? I'm getting a life. Yeah.
And he tries to get Ramona back by saying that he's in lesbians with her.
In lesbians.
Lesbians.
One of the best lines is like 4 minutes after, right after the scene ends, like 4 minutes later. I said lesbians. Because Wallace tries to trick him.
Did you use the L word with her? Lesbian?
The other L word.
Bring out the L word.
It's love, Scott. I wasn't trying to trick you.
And the fact that Edgar Wright has him playing with the letters on the fridge at the same time is just brilliant.
Oh, it's so good. 7 little kisses?
Yeah, right? What'd you think these were?
I forgot about that.
That's a great line. But he even has the X-Men patch that he takes off. There's a lot of X's in this movie if you keep an eye out for him. But Ramona actually gets back together with Gideon, who we find out is G-Man, who's watching the show, and he signs the bands. And one of my favorite visual gags is when he's like, "We'd love to sign you guys," and you see Steven, he looks so excited, and it says P and it's pointing towards his leg.
Yeah.
So they immediately dump Scott, and young Neil takes over. I love when I think they're doing Garbage Truck, and Neil's just in the background, and he does the wrong lines. He's like, "Oh no, my."
Yeah.
Help me with this. Was Envy ever in the band?
They never say.
Okay, she is in the comics.
Yeah, I think
she was like one of their singers.
I think Scott says, "I hearted her too until she signed with a major record label."
Okay.
I don't think they ever mentioned her being in Sex Bob-omb.
Okay, yeah. She was. They weren't called Sex Bob-omb then, but they were. She was in the band at that time.
Gotcha. So Scott quits the band, and one of my favorite phone calls, Gideon calls him.
Yeah.
And hey, buddy.
Oh, he's so passive aggressive.
Yeah. But I love how Wallace and other Scott are listening. He's like, what a perfect dick. After Scott walks in on them being intimate. Turn off the lights!
I'm sorry for what you saw.
That's great. I'm going to need you to move out. But, so Scott, and again, Edgar Wright style, where he's dramatically putting on everything, but he slows down to tie his shoelaces. Yeah. But then right as he hits like the final bunny ears, the music kicks back up. And
it reminds me of the scene in World's End where he goes, 5 beers, 4 in a water. What?
And then dramatically.
And then the water slowly fills up.
But so Scott goes to the Chaos Theater, and he knows all the passwords, whatever. Yeah, it's so just again, it's so reflective of that culture.
Yeah.
And first he berates the bands, and he's there. He realizes he's there for the power of
Scott's earned the power of love.
Power of love, yes. Again, a great fight scene, like beautifully choreographed. Mm-hmm. He goes to fight Gideon, and Gideon defeats him at first, and then Knives tries to save him, and then Knives attacks Ramona. Oh, so I guess Ramona and Knives do have a little tiff.
Yeah.
And Gideon and Scott go hand to hand, but then Gideon manages to stab him after Scott realized, he's like, "I dated you at the same time. That doesn't
count, does it?"
I dated you without telling you, and she's like, "Is there a difference?"
Oh yeah.
So they call him out, but we also find out, at this point, after he reveals that he's cheated on both of them, Gideon kills him, straight up, murders him, stabs him in the back, and while he's in limbo, Ramona visits him and tells him, "Yeah, he gets into my head. That is evil," and he uses the mind control device. So Scott uses his extra life and redoes the level basically.
I might add that the hitting people and turning them into quarters is just such a great visual.
Yeah, sweet coins. Oh, 230.
But it's not quarters though. It's actually
just coins.
Canadian. What's the Canadian quarter?
Coins. That's why I said coins. He says coins. What? Ruples.
Ruples.
Yen.
A good drachma.
What's the line?
Peso?
What's the line in Dukes of Hazzard? How does 30,000 yen a year sound?
Yeah.
Sounds like 40 bucks.
Yep.
But that's another underrated
I
movie.
have not seen that one.
If you didn't like we saw that without seeing the show, it is Super
See, I
Troopers.
I like Broken Lizard a lot, and then I saw them do Dukes of Hazzard. Like,
you know what? It's worth the watch.
Is it? All right.
Yeah.
Great car scenes. They do some great car stunts. But so Scott Reed does the level, and like with all that confidence, there's that Scott Pilgrim confidence. You know, your hair looks stupid, and the guy just explodes.
Yeah.
Aww. But and I love the when he comes in. You guys were right. The new set sounds way better without me. And he apologizes to apologizes to Steven, then to Kim. And I love Neil, young Neil, you've learned well. From now on, you will be known as Neil. And he's like, oh. And you hear the music and the level up numbers.
I feel so bad for Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Kim is, well, first of all, she's cut a little bit, but she is just so put upon and so neglected. And I don't know if you've ever noticed that both Kim and Roxy do not blink during the entire movie.
Because they're supposed to be like anime characters.
Yeah, oh, really?
That's why a lot of characters.
Roxy
were told to do
only
things
blinks
like
when she starts to get defeated, but Kim doesn't blink throughout the entire film.
Yeah. I find like her and Julie both kind of, because Julie disappears. You don't see her again after the.
Julie's the Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, you don't see her again after Knives gets punched.
No, she's kind of.
She just goes.
I feel like there's some good material sitting on a cutting room floor of her somewhere.
Oh yeah, probably. So after he makes peace with everybody and challenges Gideon, he wants to do it for himself this time. So he earns the power of self-respect sword. These are all swords from the comics too.
Yeah.
Like that he uses, and he apologizes to Ramona and Knives for. Listen, Kung Pao Chicken. Oh god, that was great.
Yeah.
Your old boyfriend, because don't forget new girlfriends.
Yeah.
New. There's some. This movie's so quotable. Oh my god.
It's such a tightly scripted film.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
It is just so, like, every word is just absolutely valuable and contributes to it.
So after they then team up and defeat Gideon, and they do very 80s arcade boss style where he starts glowing red as his health's going down.
All right, I got to ask you this.
Yeah,
then. As individuals who were not around in the 80s, how much appreciation do you have for the visuals in this?
So we're an interesting generation.
Mm-hmm.
We were,
because I grew up with Nintendo 64 and with the Atari the Atari 2600.
Those are two totally different systems.
I know, but they're two very important 8-bit systems.
Yeah.
Nintendo 64.
It had Mario was very 8-bit.
And Nintendo 64. Are you sure you're not talking about Super Nintendo?
Yeah, I guess I'm talking about Super Nintendo, yeah.
Because Nintendo 64 is the first.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Super Nintendo.
Because we were just playing Super Mario 64 on the Switch.
Yeah, Super Nintendo where you had to blow into the cartridges.
Yes.
Which apparently didn't do
and
anything.
Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
No, see,
and the Sega Genesis.
Yep.
Yes, I remember playing NHL 93 on Sega Genesis.
I had Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis. Yeah.
Well, here's a fun fact then. Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis versus Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo. They took out the blood for Super Nintendo because of all of the parent backlash.
You know what?
But
I kind of remember
but
this.
There is a blood code for one of the sequels, I believe. So I think Mortal Kombat 2 they took out all. No, there's a code,
no. I'm laughing because
like
it's true.
Like the Konami code.
Yeah.
That would turn on all the graphic stuff because parents revolted. This is also the generation of like Power Rangers and stuff like that where children violence was really.
All right, here's the test to see how well you guys are with these old school video games. What's the cheat code for Contra?
No.
It's a Konami code. I just said
All
it.
right, what is it?
Up, down. No.
Yep.
Down,
no, you're right.
Up, down, left, right. A, B. Start select.
Yes, that's it. I don't think you have to hit select, but yes, you got it.
All right, so here's another further fun fact. Not only does Melanie know that code, she's actually beaten Contra. Contra is one of the hardest games you can ever. That's why it has a code for invincibility.
All right, you've both convinced me that you kind of have an appreciation for
it. I remember playing Nintendo at my neighbor's house when I was like 6. We were in that We're so Ronnie and I are millennials. I think you're whatever. I think you're.
I'm X.
You're still X.
Yeah.
Okay. So millennials are, obviously there's all like the, shut up millennial kind of tropes.
Yeah, the entitlement kind of.
Even though we're the best of both worlds.
Well,
but yet X is the one that really made it out in life. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, boomer. No. I always say that there's 2 levels of millennial. Yeah. There's the late 80s, early 90s millennials, and
Which
then
are
there's
the good ones.
because we grew up with the technology as opposed to just having the technology. So I remember Nintendo and Super Mario Duck Hunt and the gun that never
worked. The orange gun
and that stupid dog.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Nintendo robot?
Oh yeah.
That used to shift the spinning things back to.
Yes, vaguely. But like I remember playing Super Mario over and over again. And then obviously the Super Nintendo came out, and then Nintendo 64. So we grew up with the technology, and we were young enough to still watch Full House, but also be playing these games.
Okay.
So we're a unique generation with stuff like that.
So you do understand and appreciate a lot of the video game stuff.
I remember playing the X-Men arcade game and the Ninja Turtles arcade games, and that's where the flashing red bad guys came in when they were low on health. Sonic, Sega Genesis. So we have a very interesting perspective. It's the later millennials that are the more entitled part of the generation.
The ones you want to beat.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I'm going to say on that. So Scott makes peace with everybody. Gideon's defeated. I do love the line. You know how long it took me to put this stupid league together? Like 4 hours.
Was a part of the reshoots, I found out.
Really?
Yes, that line was not in the original. They added a couple things. They added a couple shots and scenes to the wow of the skateboarding.
That's funny.
Which they actually had to recreate the top of the skateboarding ramp, he said, for the reshoots. And that line of it took me like 2 hours for this was from the reshoots.
So let's bring that up because I find that reshoots have gotten a terrible rap, and we can blame DC for it. Suicide Squad and Justice League have created a really bad taste of reshoots. Reshoots are done for almost every single movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Every single movie, they do a rough cut for
test audiences.
Test audience, thank you. And they see what works and what doesn't work.
Which I've actually been to a test audience once.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I got to see a rough cut of Man in the Moon with Jim Carrey.
Wow.
Yeah, I was one of the very first people to ever see that, and it was in Danbury too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like we were in. Fun fact: we were in line for another movie, and somebody said to us, "Hey, you want to come see a test screening?" But they wouldn't tell us what it was or anything, so we just had to show up that day, and we had no idea what it was, and it turned out to be that.
That's really cool.
And then afterwards, they do ask you questions of what did you think, and then they take some people as a focus group and everything. So it was neat to see the process.
Well, I hate to keep bringing up the movie Fanboys, but Fanboys, so the studio wanted to change the movie completely, but test audiences responded so positively to the original cut that they ended up going with the original cut after showing it to George Lucas, who then let them do reshoots using Star Wars media.
Oh, cool.
So...
Well, and the thing is with reshoots, a lot of times when it hits the news of so-and-so, this movie's now in reshoots, everyone goes, the movie's
there's something
trouble.
wrong with it.
Yeah. And that's not the case. Every movie has reshoots.
Yep. Yeah, most actors are contracted till well past the movie's done, including press tours and stuff. That's why when you see the press tours, all those actors are still like, especially in Marvel or DC movies, because they might have to go back.
For the home audience, he just did a jacked kind of viewing.
Yeah, thank you.
No, he didn't. He's just naturally like that.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, man. But because you know what
it's
it
all
is.
that raise.
A lot of times it could, all that raise energy. By the way, check those out.
Wait, what?
Oh, raise. I was gonna plug this at the end.
Oh, sorry. Well, the spoilers.
That's fine. But a lot of movies, even if it's just. There's something wrong with our footage. We need you to come back and reshoot it because there's a technical reason.
The footage got lost.
Or sometimes there's they realize when they cut everything together that the pacing is just slightly off and they need 1 or 2 extra shots in there just of a reaction shot sometimes just to make
just to transition it better, all sorts of things. So after Gideon's defeated, Scott goes off into the the wilderness with Ramona.
Yes, which is not the original ending.
The original cut.
Wait.
In this movie,
you forgot something.
What did we forget?
Nega Scott.
Nega Scott.
Nega Scott.
That to me is probably one of my favorite. Is when
we're gonna go get brunch next week.
Is when they walk out and Ramona and I are like, wait,
because
what?
You're expecting a big fight.
Yeah.
And they're like,
well, do you know what the ironic thing about that is? Because Scott is so unlikable, his polar opposite is super likable. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Makes sense.
the opposite of Scott is
Likeable Scott.
Yeah.
social Scott, you know, just loving Scott and
Charitable Scott.
Yeah.
we're going to go get brunch. But yeah, I'm liking that.
Yep.
But so in this cut,
Mm-hmm.
in the theatrical cut, Knives is like, she's who you were fighting for. Go be with her. I'm too cool for you anyway.
I'm too cool for you.
And he goes off with Ramona into the sunset, basically.
With jetpacks?
No jetpacks.
Ah.
In the cut of this movie, or in the director's
The original cut. You shouldn't say director's
It's
cut.
hard to say.
The original cut.
In the alternate ending,
Okay.
he actually gets back together with Knives.
Yes.
So
And they go off to the. You've seen the okay? Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, okay. She what's her Ramona goes off and he gets back together with Knives and they go off back to the arcade and they do that little dancing one and they're doing it in slow motion and it's sweet. Like it's actually kind of a nice little arc for Knives because you feel bad for her during the whole movie. But test audiences did not really like that he ended up with Knives. They wanted him to go off with Ramona.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Ramona.
Ramona.
I saw an interview with Edgar Scott, and it was for the 10th anniversary, and he was talking about reshooting it. He said, based on test audiences, we said we need to go back and we need to reshoot this with him ending up with Ramona. And he said he was so nervous to approach the actress who plays Knives because he's like, oh my God, she's going to be so upset and everything. And when he approached her, he said, "Yeah, we're going to do this. We need you to do some reshoots, and here's what we're changing the ending." And her response was, "You know, I'm glad because it seemed like Knives was such a pushover for taking him back."
But also,
though.
she was young though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
and and Edgar Wright said this. What sold her completely on the scene was that line, "I'm too cool for you anyway."
Yeah.
I think it would have been better if nobody got together with anybody because, like, the whole point of that alternate ending is Ramona's like, I need to live my life not based on my relationship.
I can understand.
Yeah.
So, like, I get all points, and obviously the test audiences were like, happy ending, no Knives,
Yeah.
no. But yeah,
You know what? It helped for me a lot because seeing the alternate ending, because I always did feel really bad for Knives that she did get the short shrift in all of this, and seeing that she was actually supposed to end up. I'm like, okay, that's a nice coda to her life and story. But that he ends up with Ramona, I think is probably the better ending. That Knives sort of like. Because her identity was so wrapped up in being with Scott that it's nice to see her say that line of "You're too cool for me anyway," and know that she's now got her own self-esteem high enough to live on.
And also, it shows growth in Scott that he's ready for commitment, and for Ramona, it's always been 2 weeks, dated for 2 weeks, and that's that. And now finally, it's nice to see that it's her decision for that relationship to continue. Even giving Scott the out because it's reflective of her own self-esteem despite all this. But that is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Are we doing a rating?
Bum, 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 bum.
Yes, Star City rating because we definitely did not for Spaceballs because that's a 5. You'll notice that I immediately omitted that from Spaceballs for Cinematic Adventures because that movie's a 5.
All right.
But Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Ronnie, I'll have you go first.
God darn it.
Rob, I'll have you go first.
Mother flirkin'.
No, I was gonna go.
Paul, you go first. I panicked. All right,
I'm
Ronnie,
gonna give
ahead.
this movie a 4. Again, visually, it's great. Again, the pacing is great with this. Like we've been saying, like you can quote this movie up, down, left, right all day. There's not too much to change other than the beginning is a little bit slow. And again, for its time period, it suffers. If this came out today, this would be a box office hit, but it wasn't back in 2010, which is unfortunate. So I think I'm hoping that now that's in theaters, this weekend, it's gonna
maybe it'll
take off.
Make its budget back.
Yeah, it might, because over the years it's definitely grown. Because back in when this movie came out, you didn't know about it, but now I feel like more people have seen it, and I'm sure it's gonna make a good amount of money from coming back out.
I hope so. Rob?
I am going to say a little bit higher than you. I can't go quite 4.5, so I'm going to split the difference at 4.25. It is not.
When I used to do that, Paul
Oh,
always
he'd get
used to.
mad?
He would always get mad at me. That's
See,
why I always go with the solid numbers because I would have said 4.25.
Do you know why I can't get mad? Because I love this movie so much that the higher the rating, I'm fine.
See,
Well, fine, then I changed mine to a 4.25 as well.
Can't change. It's too late. I'm used to doing it on a 10 scale because IMDb does it on 10 scale. So I would normally rate this like I
Like
I
an
would,
8.5.
I put it at an 8 on IMDb.
Yeah.
I actually do the ratings on IMDb. I have my own lists and
Nerd.
Oh, stop! You would do it too if you wanted
alert. And I did give it 8 out of 10, but I wish it could be just slightly higher. It's not quite a 9 because I do feel like the first half hour is way too frantic. I wish that there was somewhere in the world a 3-hour cut that gave it a lot more room to breathe because I think it's so tightly controlled by the fights. It's like, okay, here's number 3 and now it's number 4 and now it's like I would like having read the comics now. It's lovely to see the time that's spent in between those fights with all the friend groups and the band and all of their little issues that they have with one another. Like the comics really do flesh out the dynamics and all the relationships, and I would love to see that. I know also you can't have, a 2-hour movie for this is long enough, I think, too.
Yeah.
And it does, I will say that the movie does wear on me a little bit the longer it goes because it's just video game fight after video game fight after. And so I would like it to, have some room to breathe. But like I said earlier, Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Michael Cera don't hit it 100% of the time for me, but I'd say they hit it a good 80 to 90% of the time for me. So that's why I want to give it 4.25.
Paul, what about you?
I give this a 5.
I think it is the best movie I have ever seen since Spaceballs.
I give it a 4.9.
I think it is wonderful because it's got video games.
If it was a Marvel movie, I like him. But
See, I could do this too.
No, that's totally fair. This movie's tough because to give giving a 5 is a rarity for me.
Winter Soldier is the only movie I will give a 5.
There's only a handful of movies that I will ever consider.
Apparently, Spaceballs is in that handful.
Spaceballs, I give a 5 to. Yes,
wow. And he says that with full conviction.
With
by the
full
way.
conviction. But you see, when I give a high rating, it's subjective, not objective. When we do our Star City ratings, they're completely subjective, and that's why like sometimes we'll review the same movie and value the same parts of it, but like one of us will give it it's a 2.5. It's a totally average movie for me because A, B, and C, and I'm going same movie. I like D, E, and F, so I'm going to give it a 4. Subjectively, my own personal opinion, this is a 4.5. It is not a perfect movie, but this is, and I this is how I gauge my movies. Can I put this on at any time or start it from any point and enjoy it and be totally engaged? This is not a movie that I just put on while I'm cleaning the house or doing something else. This is a movie that I really I can watch at any time. So for me, this is a 4.5. It is not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. I will never tell anybody that. Obviously, when I first saw it, I might have told everybody it's not one of the best movies ever.
But it's just the hype of it.
Well, it's easier
at that point.
It's easier for me to say this is one of my favorite comic book movies, and in a world, especially now, of hundreds of amazing comic book movies. You got your Endgames, you got your Civil War, you got easy, Rob. You got your Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like those are all. We have these superhero epics. To throw on something that's just about a slack. This is the most relatable comic book movie.
It really is.
Like this isn't. I took a super soldier serum and now I'm like. The whole point of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was not being afraid to live up to Captain America.
Yeah.
Well, what's wonderful about this too is the relatable aspect of it. Like when you look at the 7 Exes, like each of them they kind of represent different stages in the relationship status of everyone's life. Of like this is that one that was just a puppy dog crush. This is that one where I wasn't really sure who I was and I was discovering myself with them. Like I think
my rebellious phase.
Yeah, I think the 3 of us could probably probably go around the room with all of our evil exes. And we could probably cite
I have no idea what you're talking
and
about.
we could cite similar examples too in our, in our histories. So.
For sure.
But I think that's going to wrap us up for tonight. Before we go, we do want to do a nice big shout out to Raise Energy. They've provided us with 3 ambassador packs.
Yes.
For, obviously, if you guys don't know, outside of doing this, we're all very physically active people. And to have a supplement company that provided us basically with a ton of energy drinks that are all healthy and 0 sugar and 0 calories was just a big boon. And,
Definitely.
We've been enjoying it all week. I know my workouts have really been. I'm even wearing their shirt right now, and Ronnie's got.
He
the
really
wristband.
is actually.
Yeah, and Ronnie's got his wristband. So
yes, I do.
Yes.
It's been a lot of fun having our first people to work with and supporting our network and our podcast. And I know they've reached out to Melanie for Bibliophiles Assemble also. So
that's awesome.
Big thanks to Race Energy and RepSports for their awesome support of our network and our program. But if you guys would like to interact with us a little bit more, you can find us on Facebook, which is the Multiverse Fan Cast. You can also find our main site, which is the Misfit Faction. You can also follow us on themisfitfaction.com and our Instagram, our YouTube, all of it, Misfit Faction, Misfit Faction, Misfit Faction. And,
make sure you like, subscribe, comment on all of those.
Yes,
please and thank you.
For every like, for every comment, for every download, for everything, every share, it really helps grow our network. We have a lot of things that we have planned. We got our first T-shirts.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Ronnie. So big thank you to Ronnie for the Misfit Faction T-shirts. We are planning a nice little giveaway as soon as feasible.
Yep.
And I think that's going to pretty much wrap us up for tonight. So a lot of good stuff down the pipeline. So please, if you guys like what you hear, share it with other people, and we'll keep the network growing and going. So as always, I'm Paul.
I'm Ronnie.
And I'm Rob.
And we will be back in a flash.
Smorgasbord.
See ya.
I was going to let you do it.